Hey everybody, today we're going to be working on this Fox body here. This particular vehicle actually belongs to an old friend of ours, actually an old co-worker, Frank Perdomo from Power by the Hour. We used to work there together and we helped him build this road race Fox body that he's had for quite some time. And this beast is coyote swapped. Probably one of the first coyote swaps that we did there. Older build, but still functioning really well. Gen 1 coyote. It's got long tubes on it and a custom exhaust. And a lot of flair, obviously a lot of road race stuff. Got a front chin, a lot of nice panels from Scott Rod, Ford Stars on there, Will Woods, badass cage by I believe TIG Vision did it, super nice and tight. Lots of cool race car stuff in here. Wide body, cool little spoiler by Surbinator. There's our custom side exit. Here to do some upgrades. So let's get up in the air and show you what we got going on. Starting up front here, Maximum Motorsports K-Member. Really nice setup. I think they're probably one of the best if you want to take any kind of racing seriously as far as performance goes for road racing. There's just tons of adjustability. Everything's built super strong, super tough. Custom exhaust that we did many moons ago. I believe this is a Spintech muffler, or it's kind of like a U180 muffler because we came in 180'd around and it actually goes up and through the body, through the inside. Yeah, basically where the rear seat is. It comes up and over there and out the side. He's been running the Maximum Motorsports torque arm. This rear end was a form of a 4-link from factory, but converted over to a torque arm. We're actually here for some upgrades, some components from Ridetech, as well as Stifflers. So actually we're gonna be converting over to a 4-link. So the rear cage that holds most of the components, I believe there's an upper 4-link tab, sway bar, track bar, shock mounts, all that. Got a nice new sway bar for it, billet shock mounts, adjustable rods with the Ridetech rod ends, beefy track bar bracket, rear track bar, and then Stifflers components consist of some new subframe connectors, and this is new to me, a web brace, basically like a frame stiffening kit that ties the subframe connectors and stiffening rails all together just to kind of tie everything in and make it extra strong. New shocks and coilovers and springs are all in there. The main thing of all this is a new rear end, and not only is it a new 9-inch rear end, but a very special treat, a cambered rear end housing. Yes, cambered rear end housing. I know, blows my mind too. I was like, Frank, what are you talking about? Actually has plates here to give you a little bit of adjustment. You're not going to get crazy adjustment out of it, but just enough to give you some sort of better geometry. Maybe we'll take this apart and kind of see what consists inside of here, because I don't really know 100% how all this goes together or how it all works, but apparently it's a hub, basically a bearing and a hub inside of here, and that gives you just a little bit of adjustability. From what Frank was telling me is that a lot of wear over time, the axles will actually bend a little bit, and probably hard to see now, but this thing does have a little bit of toe in actually. You know, all the hardcore racing. We're going to be removing all this, we'll be welding in some new parts. We'll be getting this bad boy installed. So let's do it. All right, so in order to install the new cradle. We had to cut out the old the old upper link bars, which weren't being used anyway with the torque arm, but those are, that cradle is going to sit inside of here. So had to get all that old junk out. We were using a plasma cutter in order to accomplish that, and reason being, it was just easier. We have it, so why not use it? And I don't really use that tool that often, but it's one of those tools that when you need it, you fucking need it. Yeah, normally I would take it all out, you know, probably all the structure should really come out as well, but Frank's actually not trying to lose weight. He's actually trying to add weight to the car, so a couple little pieces ain't gonna hurt anything. Getting this nice and smooth, since that's what it's gonna attach to, and we're gonna do that on this side. Pro tip, coming at you with a pro tip. I had the ground over here, which I thought was good because it was, for some reason it worked on that side, and I was plasming and it wasn't really working properly, and then I thought maybe it's possibly a ground issue, which it was. I went ahead and relocated it to a better ground and it started working awesome. So pro tip, this especially goes for welding. Check your grounds. If it's not grounded properly, it's just not going to work. Let's get back to it. All right, here we got all the Stifflers components. We have a frame stiffening kit and subframe connectors. So here are your main subframe connector rails. And then this will go out into the pinch weld. And then you have some web bracing to connect all the pieces together. And that really ties the body all together and just gives it a nice, to use it as a jacking rail almost on the side of the pinch weld, so stiffens that up. We got the subframe connectors, frame stiffeners, and stiffening rails all installed and welded. Subframe connectors in, the web bracing all in, and the frame stiffening all in. Really ties everything together. Attaching to the pinch weld, just kind of completing the package. I got the new cradle for the 4-link installed, got all the nutserts in place, got all the hardware in. We want to give it a little bit extra, so we're going to go ahead and throw some stitch welds along the bottom here. If you're not familiar, it gives it a little bit different geometry. Still using the location of the lower control arms, now relocating the upper control arm mounts to be more of a parallel system. So it'll be a parallel 4-link. New shock mounts and new pound hard bar location as well. But everything else is good. We test fit everything. Everything's nicely in place. But we're gonna go ahead and just throw some welds. Let's do it. All right, guys, that about wraps up the install and fabrication on Frank's new suspension setup and 9-inch. Overall, pretty straightforward install and welding. Like I said, throw some stitch welds on there. Really nice setup, 4-link setup. Yeah, we fabricated some brake lines for him. We did have to modify his exhaust. We actually had to modify it a little bit to get it to fit. It was actually hitting the sway bar back here, so we, tweaked some pieces here and moved all this forward. Frank's gonna take it. He still has some adjustments to make. He's gonna get this thing at the proper ride height that he wants. He's gonna get a proper drive shaft made for it, get this thing squared away, and probably take the rear end back out, get that all painted, get everything buttoned up really nice to his liking. And yeah, hopefully we'll catch him out at a race sometime and see this thing rip. Got the frame stiffening on there, so now you got a nice jack point. If you needed to get on the pinch weld, you can. But I still recommend going on the frame or the subframe connectors. But if it's in a low spot and you can't really get to anything, that is an option. So, all right, hope you guys enjoy.